Hello, how's it going? I hope you're doing there. You know, um, I know I've been doing a lot of social commentary based on international uh, things considered with our social realm of looking at people from a different perspective, the pigment of the skin. And you say, and this is something that goes back goes back for a whole while. That goes back and it really unlocks why people do and where did it start at on TV? Who started with this social programming? Uh, why we and they have done experiments in the past on you probably seen on what would you do and different shows like Charlie Raphael, Oprah. I have a show on Oprah, one of her old podcasts, and on her show back at that time, there was a woman named Jane Elliot. A lot of people don't like Jane Elliot for various different reasons. She's an elderly woman now. She's in the middle 80s, and I'm going to show you what kind of experiment she did, but she unlocks the subconscious, was teaching about the subconscious mind that white people have, a certain majority of them have in this country towards other groups of people. So I'm going to sit back and let you, um, fair use, this is only for teaching purposes, copyright 1976. Try not to really, hopefully I won't get flagged for this. But this Oprah Winfrey. It's in 1992.
Pulled out of line, told to put on a green collar and wait outside. When the brown-eyed people arrived, they were told to step to the front of the line. Our staff was instructed to be extra polite to brown-eyed people and to discriminate against blue-eyed people like this one.
I was saying that, but actually my license got stolen, and when I went to replace it, well, I understand that.
Audience members with brown eyes were allowed to order coffee and donuts. Those with blue eyes were left standing in a crowded room without refreshments for over 2 hours. The blue-eyed group became upset when they saw the brown-eyed people were being seated first. A woman with blue eyes was outraged when she realized when they fed the brown-eyed people.
Anybody remember this?
After 2 hours of being discriminated against, the blue-eyed group began to revolt. Again, the mistreatment that you're seeing of the blue-eyed audience is all a part of an exercise on racism to show how easily we can be taught to discriminate based on something as simple as skin color or eye color. As you're about to see, this show made many people in the studio audience feel really uncomfortable, even angry in a matter of moments. And it might do the same for you. That is exactly the point. Human behavior is so fascinating, and this point was to show how you can teach prejudice in a moment's time. Watch what happens when our guest, Jane Elliot, convinces the audience that convinces the audience that blue-eyed people are less intelligent than brown-eyed people. My guest today is an Iowa school teacher, and for 20 years, and through her research and experience in the classroom, she's discovered some shocking news. She says that the news is that blue-eyed people have an inability to achieve, and brown-eyed people have higher intelligence. Welcome, Jane Elliot. Jane. And you came to that conclusion how?
I've been a teacher for 25 years in the public, private, and parochial schools in this country, and I have seen what brown-eyed people have done as compared to what blue-eyed people do. And it's perfectly obvious, and if I didn't believe it before this morning, you should have been here this morning when we brought these people in here.
No way, no way, no way. Blue eyes? Yeah, blue eyes. Why do you say no way? No way.
We were very tolerant. Everyone was so kind and courteous down there. We shared gum, candy. It was really nice. We got to have friends.
She was rude to us, all of us. Prejudice aside, she was rude. She
Was rude?
The act was a result of what she acted with us
Let's
first.
talk about that.
She told me to shut my mouth when I was in line. She said, close your mouth, shut up, you are rude.
Go ahead, Jane. Go ahead,
No,
Jane.
I did for that.
What'd you say? What?
I said I was waiting for friends and had friends come, and she goes, I don't care.
Okay, what?
She said, put that green collar on or you're out of here.
What Jane said, what to you?
She told us, you put that green collar on or you're out of here.
So why are you all wearing collars? Do you?
You wanted to be on the show.
Wait. Come down here. You're wearing a green collar and you don't know why? Why?
Oprah, we came.
Yeah.
We came this morning with high expectations. And this lady came out in the line with all of us people that had light-colored eyes and said, you put this green collar on now and keep it on, and if you don't, hit the road. And we said, but why? And we were told to shut up and be still and get out of the way.
What?
You people, look, it is... People, I had a girlfriend in school who was blue-eyed. She was so stupid, she was always copying off of my papers. These people were so rude and so noisy today, we couldn't hear any ourselves even talk. It was ridiculous.
Now, you can only
Okay, let Jane speak. Let Jane
you
speak.
can
Go
only
ahead, Jane.
judge these people by their behaviors. There's obviously a poverty of values in this blue-eyed group if ever I saw one. Number one, they are rude. They are belligerent. They are angry at a little bit of discomfort. If you don't like it here, why don't you go back where you came from? Now,
She says,
We flew here from Philadelphia, that's why we're staying.
if you don't like it here, go back where you came from. The flight goes both ways.
okay, what?
The whole problem there is this has been a set-up situation. This is not real life. We were treated
Oh, wait a
completely
minute.
different.
This isn't real life for you.
Well, and
For
number
how many
one,
of you people of color is this real life? I'd like to see your hands.
you didn't even tell what color eyes I have. I have hazel eyes. They're more brown than they are blue. That's for sure.
Are you ashamed of the blue in them today?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying
Well,
that
you
this is
should
a
be.
totally set-up situation. It's not even real.
What do you want to say, Jane?
I'm saying that number one, the person who said we were tolerant, that's a favorite blue-eyed thing, to be tolerant. How many of you people of color want to be tolerated? How many of you want to be appreciated and valued?
Why are you sitting on the floor? Why are you on the floor?
I was told to sit here.
He was told to sit
We don't
there.
have a chair for him, Sally? We don't have a chair?
No.
Anyway, go ahead, Jane.
He
Go
was
ahead.
told to sit there because these people multiply like flies.
Okay, what? What color are your eyes, Jane?
My eyes are blue, and that's the reason I know what you people are like.
Now, Jane has been a teacher for 25 years. She has won many awards based upon this study. And she says that blue-eyed people are lazy and less intelligent than people with brown eyes. Is that, we're going to find out where she gets that from and if the audience agrees or not.
Study.
Government pay for her study? Did the government pay for your study?
Too bad they pay for other studies.
We'll be back. Back in 1992, we conducted a very eye-opening exercise with our studio audience. We called it an exercise in prejudice, blue-eyed versus brown-eyed. Our studio audience didn't know they were involved in a mind game, which is all that prejudice really is. But they were trying to figure it out. Here's what we did. Our guest, Jane Elliot, separated the blue-eyed people in the audience from the brown-eyed people. Then she told them that blue-eyed people are less intelligent than brown-eyed people. Now, of course, we all know eye color has nothing to do with intelligence, just as skin color doesn't make a group of people superior or inferior. That is exactly the point of this experiment. But amazingly, some of the audience, in a matter of moments, started to believe it. The point was to show how easy it is to be taught to discriminate against someone based upon any other condition. Imagine if they were all children being taught this.
It is.
Keep watching. The studio audience continues to buy into what Jane is telling them. My guest today is Jane Elliot, and Jane has done years of research on intelligence and has come to the conclusion, she says, that blue-eyed people are not as intelligent as brown-eyed people, and all the blue-eyed people have collars on. Some people are taking their collars off, Jane.
I want them out of here.
You want them out of here?
The rule in this room is you wear the collar or you leave. In this society, the rule is do it the white way or get out. Now, if this is going to be real, Oprah, they need to put their collars on or they need to leave.
I want to say, why doesn't Jane have a green collar on? She's got blue eyes.
Because I've learned to act brown-eyed. I have a brown-eyed husband and 3 brown-eyed children.
Why did you?
And the message in this room is act brown-eyed and you too can take off your collar. Act intelligently and you too won't lose your collar. None of you have acted intelligently yet.
Oh, I've got a son that's blue-eyed. I've got 6 children. And some have hazel and some blue. And he's gone all through school with A.
Here's the thing, though. Which one?
I'll tell you, but I have a blue-eyed daughter, and people look at her and they say to me, she's beautiful, but she has blue eyes. Those big blue eyes. She's ostracized because of those blue eyes. I mean, she just stands out like...
I had blue eyes all my life. And,
I mean, look at her. She's the only thing standing up right now, except myself, and complaining about having blue eyes. Complaining.
Have you heard about the dumb blonde?
Which one is it?
Well, I just think it's really ridiculous, and the color of the eyes has nothing to do with the way a child achieves. I taught for 36 years in elementary education, and I didn't have time for a survey. I had time to teach kindness and understanding and development and personality.
Maybe a question. She said, eye color doesn't make a difference. Does that mean that you will let me date your daughter because I have brown eyes?
Yes,
You, young lady, are an exception to the rule.
but color has nothing to do with it. The treatment does, and the attitude does, but color has nothing to do
You're an
with
exception
love.
to the rule. Everyone does not have the exact same attitude that you have.
But in America, we are at the melting pot of the world, and we should be able to be tolerant. And you should dislike me because I'm white, and I should dislike you
by
because of your
melting
color.
pot? Now wait a minute, people. What do you mean by melting pot? That we put everybody together and mix them all up and they all come out the same so that white folks feel comfortable with them? So that blue-eyed folks feel comfortable with them? We don't need a melting pot in this country, folks. We need a salad bowl. In a salad bowl, you put in the different things. You want the vegetables, the tomatoes, the lettuce, the cucumbers, the onions, the green peppers, to maintain their identity. You appreciate differences. A melting pot does not appreciate differences, and this country ought to be about appreciating differences. That female wants us to be the same.
So, what do you base the fact that blue-eyed people are less intelligent or lazy? What do
They
you...
haven't been on the earth as long as brown-eyed people have, and that's a fact. Yeah. The first scientists at the University of Southern California traced the DNA molecule back. Now, look at this boy. He wants to talk. Is he being a good listener? These people know the listening skills? And if they know the listening skills, why aren't they practicing them? As I say,
We can see where this is going.
University of Southern California. Sit down and listen. Trace the DNA molecule. Trace the DNA molecule back using computers 2 or 3 years ago, and in order to find out where the first modern human being evolved on this earth. And what they found was that the first modern human being evolved on this earth was a black female. And in every one of your genes runs the memory of that first black female. People of color have been on the earth longer than white people have. That's a fact. You need to be aware of that.
But you are blue-eyed. Would you want your daughter to marry a blue-eyed person?
I'd be very careful of the one I chose.
Why?
Because, no, my daughter has brown eyes. My of my daughters and one of my sons are brown-eyed. Because you need to be careful about mixing the races as far as eye color is concerned. You need to be aware, folks. You need to be aware that it was blue-eyed people in Germany. It was blue-eyed people in Germany who oversaw the killing of 10 million human beings. And one of the ways you went into the gas chamber in Germany was eye color. If you had brown eyes and a good German name, they threw you into the gas chamber because they said you might be trying to pass. You were a Jewish person trying to pass. I didn't invent this. Adolf Hitler did. And there are people in this country today, neo-Nazis, the Aryan nation, who are now absolutely trying to do the same thing again. And unless you are aware of it, it will happen again. We have 59,000 excess deaths among the black population of this country per year now. Now, if we had that great a number of excess deaths among the white population, we would do something about it.
So what does Jane think should be done with the blue-eyed people in society? She's going to tell us her plan when we come back. We'll be back. We're watching a vintage Oprah show from 1992 when we conducted a fascinating exercise on racism as the audience arrived for the show, and without explaining anything to them at all, we separated the blue-eyed people from the brown-eyed people and treated the brown-eyed people much better on purpose as a part of this experiment. Now in the studio, our guest, Jane Elliot, who's been doing this since the death of Dr. King in her classroom, she first started it in her third grade class. Jane told the audience that brown-eyed people are more intelligent than blue-eyed people. Of course we know, and Jane knows too, that that is not true. Just as skin color doesn't make a group of people more intelligent or superior. That is the whole point. The point of the show was to show how easy it is, first of all, to teach people to discriminate, and to show that we've all been taught to discriminate. And it worked. In no time at all, some members of the audience started, just regular folks we invited to the show, started believing Jane. And then the blue-eyed people got angry. Watch.
Several people in this group are very, very angry. They're angry after an hour of being denied what they consider their right.
This man said yes,
But those very people who are that angry over an hour of very minor discomfort in a place they volunteered to be are the same people who would say they don't understand LA and the anger.
Yes. Your point might be made here by us wearing our collars and treating us really poorly, but then again, you've made a complete generalization and assumption that those of us who have green collars support or can't empathize with what happened in LA. You've made a complete assumption on what we look like based on our beliefs.
You don't like people making broad generalizations about you and assumptions about you without knowing you? That doesn't make you comfortable to have people making broad generalizations and assumptions about you without knowing you as an individual? It makes you very uncomfortable? Anybody else in this room ever had that kind of discomfort on a daily basis? Have you been uncomfortable about their discomfort for the last 30 years of your life? Oh, sure. That's the majority of white people in this country say, I'm uncomfortable about this, but they better not move into my neighborhood.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I am
She's
from
right.
Sweden. The majority of the population in Sweden are blue-eyed. And my country is a world leader. We have a lot of stuff in Sweden. I mean, we produce
The
a
highest
lot.
income tax rate in the world.
Yes, but see what we get from it too. All our social security, everything, our hospitals, everything.
We're neutral during the Second World War while the Nazis were destroying 10 million people.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's good thinking. Do you want to defend Sweden some more?
yes,
Explain why you allowed 10 million people to die.
we didn't allow anything.
Did you do anything to stop it?
No, we didn't. We were a
That is a
country
fair
that
question.
let
If
people
one is
come
going to
into
hold
us
up one's
to
country
seek
as an example of the
comfort.
world, then one has to be able to defend the behaviors of one's country. We cannot defend the behaviors of the United States of America if we do not change the level of racism in this country. Somebody has said the only thing necessary for the perpetuation of evil is for good people to do nothing. That's what happened in Portugal and Sweden during the Second World War. Good people did nothing. And that helped that situation to go on.
Okay, so how many of you blue-eyed people in here right now with the collars are really angry about what Jane is saying? You're angry about what she's saying. You're angry, what are you angry about?
We're angry about the attitude, but it doesn't have anything to do with the color of the eyes. We're angry about the treatment, and we've been here before, and all your people have been so kind, and we got a negative attitude, but we sort of felt like there was a purpose in it. So the anger isn't deep-seated. Right.
You got a negative attitude today or before?
Oh, today. But it was because of her attitude and the attitude of the staff building up a prejudice.
Against?
Well, attitudes, but not colors, but attitudes.
You don't know anything about
you're
my
angry
attitude.
about
My
this is an
You're
excellent.
by my behaviors. You're judging me by my behaviors. You know nothing about my attitude. You only know what my behaviors
Right,
are.
and that's what you would do with us, is judging us by our behavior.
That's
And
right.
we were trying to behave very well until we got a little tired of waiting, and then we started railroading your road and that sort of thing.
Okay, we'll be back. We'll be back in a moment. Back in a moment. When we come back, the audience finds out the truth that they were all part of an exercise in showing how racism starts. You won't believe their reaction. You're watching a vintage Oprah show from 1992. The studio audience didn't know it, but when they arrived for this show, they became a part of an exercise in racism. What we did was we separated the audience into two groups based on the color of their eyes, and we treated each group very differently, mistreating those with blue eyes, catering to those with brown. At this point in the show, we finally revealed to the audience what is really going on, that it was all just an exercise. Their reaction? Fascinating. What you want to say?
I think that the treatment that the blue-eyed people experienced was bad. But I think that it was just that, an experiment. And I think that the reality of the matter is that people should wake up, you preach about it, you talk about revolution, but you never do anything about it. And revolution is nothing but change. People need to change. And I think that people are afraid to change. Until we have a revolution, there's going to be turmoil and more.
Okay, so let me explain to you all. Do you all realize that this is an experiment? Okay, this is an experiment. This isn't how we normally treat people when they come to this show. We're going to find y'all some seats for the next segment because most people come to the show. So, I have to tell you that my staff, you all were right who said this today, that our staff today treated the blue-eyed people differently than the brown-eyed people. This goes against everything I believe. So, I was downstairs. I had to go upstairs. I heard somebody saying, "Shut up and move to the other side." Okay, oh boy. It goes against everything that I really believe about how you treat people. But we've discovered over the past 6 months, we've been doing series on racism, that people don't understand that racism is really about, Jane, who knows this so well, how you treat people. It's really about what this woman up here was saying. So many people over the past few months when we do shows say, how can Hispanic people and black people feel that there's racism when they've got jobs, you can go any place you want to go, the civil rights movement gave you your freedom. I've heard people say that. So what are you so upset about? And what people of color are so upset about is exactly some of the same things that you all experienced here, that you wouldn't know unless it happened to you. When you walk in a store as a black man and everybody starts to clutch their purses because you come in the store. When I walk to a store, black belt shopper that I am, they put the sign in the window and says, "We're closed, by appointment only." You don't know it unless you feel it, and that's why we put the collars on you so that you could feel it. We apologize for doing it to you under these circumstances, but do you feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? Okay, so how did you feel? Let's talk about those of you sit down here on the floor.
Come on.
So pitiful, so pitiful. Come to the Oprah Winfrey show and sit down on the floor. I want you all to now talk about how you started to feel. And who wants to share with me? Yeah, yes.
Well, we were here this morning real early, and
We asked you to be early on purpose so we could make you wait all day.
right, and we were waiting. But after a while, it's like my back started to hurt, and I thought, usually this isn't the case. And then when we came in, it was like the Gestapo with the bathroom. I mean, somebody actually followed me into the bathroom and watched me.
Which is what happens to people. Listen. I was just talking to some friends who were shopping this weekend, some white friends and some black friends, who say that the white friend said to me that she noticed in the store when she was trying to get the salesperson to help her that the salesperson wouldn't give her any attention because they were so busy following the black people who were with her, watching every move. Can you imagine what that feels like? Now you know.
Not just America, but in certain parts of the world it's like this too.
Get it now? You understand? It was just. And how did you feel?
I felt degraded.
Right.
I felt degraded.
You felt degraded.
Yes, I sure did.
Now, he was so angry he took off his collar way on early.
Yeah, we need to talk about that, taking off the collar. These people can take off their collars and then nobody knows what color their eyes are from a distance. How many of you people of color can take off the collar that we have put on you? How many of you can take off your color? How many of you would like to in a society that says that it's wrong to be that color? Yeah, now people, these folks could take off their collar and make a statement. But if a black male refused to follow your orders or your husband's orders or your father's orders on the street, you would not see that, as a matter of principle, you would not see that as being highly principled. You would see him as being an uppity nigger. You'd do it, you'd say it, and that's the way you'd treat him. You wouldn't even want him to go through your neighborhood
Hear what she said?
at a certain time of night because of the color of his skin.
That was in 1992. We still going through it in 2022.
What? Excuse me. Yeah, what?
I am totally appalled. I am brown-eyed and I was treated good. I got donuts, all that good stuff. But I don't want you to sit there and judge me or my friends if I'm not that way. I think it's terrible the way people are treated. I may be tall, I may be blonde. Blonde jokes are a big thing, and I would never wish that on anybody. But don't you tell me that I'm that way.
What do you want to say, Jane? Go ahead. Wait.
Don't judge me, but what is she doing to make a change in the system? This is all about a system that oppresses people, and she's doing nothing except living. What are you doing? What has been done? I'm living the life. What has been done? Absolutely nothing.
You sorry, what? Let her speak, please. Well, wait a minute. Hold it. One of the most important things is for you all to understand what just happened. What she was saying is a part of the experiment to make people understand you're right. It doesn't matter what color your eyes are, just like it doesn't matter what color your skin is. That's the whole point of you being mistreated for an hour. Do you understand that? So she doesn't really believe that. She doesn't really believe that blue-eyed people are less intelligent. She doesn't really believe that.
The way she even treated us brown-eyed people, and she was trying to treat us pleasantly, from what I understand. I thought she was rude to us.
But it's an experiment.
For one, it is not an experiment.
Exercise, I'm
It
sorry.
is an exercise. It is a learning experience. It is not an attempt to learn something from you. It is an attempt to teach you something. We good white folks, have talked about eliminating racism in this country for 100 years, but we haven't done it. We all say, I'm not one of those who does those things. But until we change our behaviors in this country, until we change the kind of people we elect, and the people, our leaders are elected by the majority white people, make no mistake about that. Until we change the kind of people we elect, we are sending a message to people of color that we are all alike. Now, in order to prove that you aren't like that, change your behaviors. Change the words you say. Change the things you think. You are in charge of what you think and what you say and what you do. You may have been, and if you think that we aren't all racist, you're mistaken. In this country, if you're white, if you were born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, you were born, raised, and schooled to be a racist. You were conditioned to racism. That's what education in this country does. You can refuse to accept that conditioning.
Well,
We
this man up here in the white shirt here says that it's not. He had his collar on, so I know he took it off. But yeah, you say that she's.
Started all this trouble. I think I felt what many black people feel. I revolted against this whole experiment. I tried to conquer a lot of people to come out and help me. I felt the frustration. But when you say what you just said, that's wrong. My mother and father. Wait.
No, I can't do it. His point is.
Taught me to be totally tolerant.
An hour, how a black person feels. I'm very sorry. You can't go in there, but you can't say that.
Yes, I don't.
He's saying that he.
Woman.
And are you saying that? What I'm saying, Oprah, is that he can't walk in my shoes. Not in a half an hour. You can't do that. He said he did. I'm a good listener. She told us how to do that. I listened. I heard him from beginning to end.
The moment of what?
Okay, he's changing it now. What is
he also said that his parents taught him to be tolerant. And a few minutes ago, in this room, we said people of color don't want to be tolerated. They want to be appreciated and valued. Tolerate means put up with.
I love this one.
Taught you to put up with people who are different. I think it's time to teach children to appreciate people who are different.
5 years, and I treat all my students alike. And I want to know one white man that treats everybody alike.
How many of you believe that he treated all students alike? Every time I do this exercise.
Hold it, Jane. Come back. We'll let you finish when we come back. And find out why blue white people were selected as the inferior group for this lesson in a moment.
Wow. Wow. What do you think of that one? And it's a reality that, you know, some African Americans go through. And it was back in 1992. And here we in 2022, and we still struggling with it. That was 30 something years ago that she did that experiment. And we still talk about the same thing. We talk about the same issues. So it hasn't changed. I was in my 20s back then. But it hasn't changed. And it's like it's social denial. And people got so offended about it. And it was just it was what she said was just an experiment. You know, that's all what it was. It was just, wow. You know, people got really offended. And that's what black people do, not just here, but around the world. Go through that. In different parts of the world. That they still on the totem chain. That's what she was pointing out back then. A lot of people, but when it comes, sorry to say, when it comes to some white people, they can't comprehend that because of what their upbringing was, and that's just perfectly fine. I mean, some people are treated equally, and like I made the statement, like I was telling you about my neighbor, who's kind of like a friend of mine. You know, he's pretty much been like a friend. And when we was over, when I took my friend, who was an African American woman, black woman, over to his house after his grandmother died, because she ministers to different people. And when his relatives was there, I don't know where these other relatives came from, but we get into a conversation around the kitchen table, and he start making this issue about, there's lazy white people and there's lazy black people. He start going into this detail, and he start exalting himself as an individual. I'm like, what does that got to do with having the conversation? What does that got to do with? But subconsciously he did it, and we was in his father's home. His father didn't say nothing. His father's wife didn't say nothing. He didn't say anything. We just don't bump all up, and we were cool. We didn't overreact or anything. And it was just, I said, ain't this something? After after we come out of someone's wake, you gotta come with this stuff. Right after someone's wake. And I told this to his brother-in-law when he was up in Cleveland, who was married to his sister. His brother-in-law he just shook his head like, wow. Because his brother-in-law and his sister wasn't there at the time. They were, working in Cleveland. Because the reason why we were, and how we got on the topic about talking about that is because his neighbor made it, and he made like a suggestive thing that he didn't like Muslims. So I was like, wow, okay, it's okay. There's some people that don't like people with Muslim. I think it's kind of dumb, but he didn't just say he didn't like Muslims. He didn't like Muslims that were black. And I said, oh. And he just come with it. I was like, whoa, he said that? And then this person is my friend, try to come behind him and say, well, he was a good, no, he was a good man. He was a good Christian man. I don't know. I don't think he's like that. He start doing one of them numbers. I'm like, no, what he said was the truth. Your brother-in-law, and he said that he don't want to be around people, and he was, just because he's white, that this other white people will come around and joke about stuff, start talking with the innuendo jokes. But he tried to clean up because he known him for a while, and he would go down there and visit his house and swim in his pool and stuff like that. But I kind of looked kind of sideways at him afterward, and it's, when you go through something like that, being something that put tension on a friendship, especially even if it was a family member, but especially a friendship with somebody. And some people around you will have that bias, and you don't know until you friends with a black person or someone of a different race. It's the truth, and you'll see it. They'll just sit down there. They just boldly just say something out of the blue. Just say something out of. I like what was the purpose of that? Why are you talking like this? But that subconscious, what Jane's talking about, is true. I've encountered it, and been in people's presence and say some stuff just like that. And they some people are like that. They in the closet with it until someone confront them. And like Phil said, until you have to kind of correct them and say, hey, that ain't gonna be tolerated here. Because some people, they try to be in the closet with it, and either they'll cut away from and stop associating with people like that. But he actually said it, so that was something. But that still exists to this day in 2022. You still got people here as well as in different places in the world that still walk with that perception about following somebody around the store, treating them really rude and mean. And I made a video of what happened over in Ukraine with the Africans. Now and with the Africans, these were selected people that these was not your bum folding five. You got to take a lot of money to travel across the world. Then you got to live someplace. So they're not just being a bum and trying to get off the system over there. They're trying to go over there working and spend their money so they go to medical school. It wasn't trying to take away from anything from the people that was over there in Ukraine from their education system. But the subconscious mind of race always matters. It always matters to some people. And it's the truth. And we don't in the society, we don't like to address this. We just like to dance around it, and then, or some people say no because they don't want to be, they don't want to make themselves look bad. But that's what it is. I guess you got some people in the closet racist, but they try to closet. But sometimes God expose people that's in the closet racist. He will show you what they being sneaky about. Just like he will show you anybody else that's being sneaky with what they do. If they being deceitful, he gonna show you. You gonna discern it, and it's gonna hurt. But it is what it is. But that's why I make some topics like this, because it's to awaken some people. It's a teachable moment, because there are some people in this world who are racist, but they're in the closet with it, and they don't want to. They don't want to face it. They don't want to deny it, and that's what Miss Jane was pointing that out. I'm not like that. I'm I said, yeah, but but you're not getting it. That's what basically she was saying. And people couldn't take it. It's like, wow, man. They couldn't really bear it. Now, I'm gonna show you something. What's in the 21st century? Show you something. There's a film.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh, and we're broadcasting from the Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, from Park City TV, where a new film looks at the racial and gender prejudice baked into artificial intelligence technology, like facial recognition. The film is called Coded Bias.
Earlier this month, Cambridge, Massachusetts voted to ban facial recognition, joining a growing number of cities in the U.S., including San Francisco, that have outlawed the artificial intelligence software, citing flawed technology.
A recent study found facial recognition identified African American and Asian faces incorrectly 10 to 100 times more than white faces. The study by the National Institute of Standards and Technology found a photo database used by law enforcement incorrectly identified Native Americans at the highest rates.
The danger of flawed artificial intelligence and its increasing omnipresence in daily life is the focus of the new film, Coded Bias. The film begins with Joy Bolamwini, a researcher at the MIT Media Lab, who discovers that most facial recognition software does not recognize darker-skinned or female faces when she has to wear a white mask to be recognized by a robot she herself is programming. She goes on to reveal that artificial intelligence is not, in fact, a neutral scientific tool, but instead reflects the biases and inequalities of wider society.
This is Joy Bolamwini testifying before Congress in May.
I'm an algorithmic bias researcher based at MIT, and I've conducted studies that show some of the largest recorded racial and skin type biases in AI systems sold by companies like IBM, Microsoft, and Amazon. You've already heard facial recognition and related technologies have some flaws. In one test I ran, Amazon recognition even failed on the face of Oprah Winfrey, labeling her male. Personally, I've had to resort to literally wearing a white mask to have my face detected by some of this technology. Coding in whiteface is the last thing I expected to be doing at MIT, an American epicenter of innovation. Now, given the use of this technology for mass surveillance, not having my face detected could be seen as a benefit. But besides being employed for dispensing toilet paper, in China the technology is being used to track Uyghur Muslim minorities. Beyond being abused, there are many ways for this technology to fail. Among the most pressing are misidentifications that can lead to false arrests and accusations. Mistaken identity is more than an inconvenience and can lead to grave consequences.
That's Joy Bolamwini, who now joins us here in Park City. at the Sundance Film Festival, along with Shalini Kantaya, the director of the film Coded Bias that's premiered here at the film festival. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! So take it from there, Joy. I mean, how did you end up testifying before Congress? And take us on your journey from MIT, discovering that your face is one that would be recognized so many fewer times when artificial intelligence technology is used than others. I mean, maybe that's protection. Who knows?
Absolutely. So my journey started as a grad student. I was working on an art project that used face detection technology, and I found that it didn't detect my face that well until I put on a white mask. And so it was that white mask experience that led to questioning, well, how do computers see in the first place? How's artificial intelligence being used? And if my face isn't being detected in this context, is it just me or other people?
Can you also go step back? What even does artificial intelligence mean? What does AI mean?
Sure, so AI is about giving machines what we perceive to be somewhat intelligent from a human perspective. So this can be around perceiving the world, so computer vision, giving computers eyes. It can be voice recognition. It can also be about communication. So think about chatbots, right? Or think about talking to Siri or Alexa. And then another component to artificial intelligence is about discernment or making judgments. And this can become really dangerous if you're deciding how risky somebody is, or if they should be hired or fired, because these decisions can impact people's lives in a material way.
Well, can you talk about the origins of artificial intelligence? You go over it a bit in the film Coded Bias.
Oh yes, and Shalini does a great job of really taking it all the way back to Dartmouth, where you had a group of, who I affectionately call pale males, coming together to decide what intelligence might look like. And here you're saying if you can play chess well, that's something that looks like intelligence. The thing also about artificial intelligence is what it is changes. So as machines get better at specific kinds of tasks, you might say, oh, that's not truly intelligent. So it's a moving line.
So, Shalini, why don't you talk about how you came up with the idea for Coded Bias? Joy, a central figure, of course, of this film, and take the history further.
Well, basically, I was sort of like a science fiction fanatic, and so I like reading about technology and imagining the future. And I think so much of what we think about artificial intelligence comes from science fiction. It's sort of the stuff of Blade Runner and the Terminator. And then when I started sort of reading and listening to TED Talks by Joy and another mathematician named Kathy O'Neill, other women like Meredith Broussard and Zeynep Tufekci, I realized that artificial intelligence was something entirely different in the now. It was becoming a gatekeeper, making automated decisions about who gets hired, who gets health care, and who gets into college. And when I discovered Joy's work, I was just captivated by this young woman who was disrupting the disruptors.
So let's go to a clip from your remarkable film, Coded Bias. This shows police in London stopping a young black teen.
Tell me what's happening. This young black kid in school uniform got stopped as a result of a match. Took him down that street just to one side.
It's in London, England.
Thoroughly searched him. It was all plainclothes officers as well. It was 4 plainclothes officers who stopped him. Fingerprinted him after about maybe 10-15 minutes.
This is probably coming to the U.S. Whatever they do in England, it comes to America. I bet you that's going to happen. Watch. With probably next couple of years, it'll be here.
Facial recognition technology. We're campaigning against facial. We're called the Brother Watch. We're a human rights campaigning organisation. We're campaigning against this technology here today. And then you've just been stopped because of that, but they misidentified you. These are our details. He was a bit shaken. His friends were there. They couldn't believe what had happened to them. You've been misidentified by their systems, and they've stopped you and used that as justification to stop and search you. But this is an innocent young 14-year-old child who's been stopped by the police as a result of
14 years old.
Misidentification.
So that's a clip from Coded Bias, Joy Buolamwini. Explain further what took place here. The misidentification, the identification. Some might perversely say it's better for this technology to fail so that people can't be identified, but this is the opposite case.
Absolutely. So you were saying earlier maybe not being identified is a good thing, but then there are the misidentifications that have a real world impact. So in the clip and in the film, you actually see the work of Big Brother Watch UK. And in this particular scenario, Big Brother Watch UK was able to track what was going on in London. And one of the things they showed in their study Face Off was you had false positive match rates of over 90%. So you see this one example here, but they also had reports where more than 2,400 innocent people were mismatched. So it's not just a case of, oh, you're not detected. That might be sometimes, but you could be misidentified as somebody you're not, and the consequences can be grave.
And we're playing this clip at a time when the New York Times reports London's police department said it would begin using facial recognition to spot criminal suspects with video cameras as they walk the streets, adopting a level of surveillance that is rare outside China. The technology London deploying goes beyond many of the facial recognition systems used elsewhere, which match a photo against a database. The new technology uses software that can immediately identify people on a police watch list as soon as they're filmed on a video camera, Joy.
And I think you might need to say attempt.
Did you know also colorism, how colorism, skin tone has bias affects racial equality at work? There's an article on World Economic Forum. So even where you work at can affect where on your job, and also mentally, racism can also cause mental health problems. This is why people or black people and other people experience racism. Sometimes they need to get out of the country and take a vacation, or just some go. Here's an article talk about racism and mental health. How it's affecting. You see, ladies and gentlemen, racism don't go away. You see what now it's going to transform into AI. So now, what they were saying, the cops can stop you. So they're going to use that same AI here in the next 2 to 5 years if they don't have it already. They can look facial recognition. If it's in England, whatever in England, United States is going to pick it up in difference, and that stuff's going to go spread worldwide throughout the United States. It's going to, whatever in China and England, going to eventually hit here in America, and the police will be using that technology. Guarantee you they will. Because they got cameras now, but that'll be the next thing. Mark my word, and it's gonna start in the bigger cities, New York, LA, someplace like Dallas, Miami, Boston, some big city, Washington D.C. Then it's gonna go down into your secondary cities. Watch what I'm telling you, and cops, and they're gonna introduce this to law enforcement across the United States. They're already learning tactics on how to subdue suspects in places in Israel. Some police departments have sent how to better train and kind of dismobilize a suspect in Israel. And there's a video on that. So just imagine the police gonna have the technology to do that too. It's gonna be like a new basically we slide like a new world order.
I think you might need to say attempt to identify, because oftentimes the claims that are made about these technologies don't necessarily match up to the reality. Earlier you spoke about the National Institute of Standards and Technology's study. They studied more than 189 algorithms from 99 different companies. And so this is the majority of the facial recognition technology that's out there. Racial bias, gender bias, age bias as well. So if you have a face, you have a place in this conversation, and we all need to be concerned. So I think it's highly irresponsible to deploy technologies that we already know have significant flaws, that we already know can be abused. It's common sense to place a moratorium until we're at a better place.
Well, Shalini, another place that you profile in the documentary is China, and you speak to this woman at some length. So a couple of questions. First, how did you get access? And your response to the fact that she actually supported the credit, the social credit system?
Absolutely.
If you could explain what that is, how it works there, and what your sense is of the kind of support that this system has in China. And then Joy, along the same lines as what you were talking about earlier, in places like China, where the artificial intelligence and facial recognition, the technology is developed there, is there a similar bias? And if so, what is it? But first, Shalini.
Well, I got access through local production company in China, and I feel that this woman kind of gave us insight into this social credit system that is coming up in China to sort of where they're using facial recognition in tandem with a social credit system. So if you basically, they're tracking you, they're watching you, they're surveilling you, and they're scoring you. And not only what you do impacts your score, but what your friends do impact your score. And this young woman who is featured in the film says that, in fact, we don't have to trust our own senses anymore, that we can rely on this sort of social credit score to actually have integrity in who we trust and who we don't trust. And I think in the film, we sort of want to think, that's sort of a galaxy far, far away from the U.S. But in the making of this film, I saw all kinds of parallels of that type of scoring that's happening here in the U.S. and in other places around the world.
Explain how you see that it's comparable, or could be.
Well, as Amy Webb says so poignantly in the film, we're all being scored all the time. From our Uber scores to our Facebook likes, all of that information is being tracked and analyzed all of the time. And so we're all being rated all of the time. And so though that kind of tracking can impact how much we pay for insurance, what kind of opportunities are shown to us online. And so very much it becomes sort of an algorithmic determinism.
Enjoy.
So to the question of how are the systems working in China, in our first study called Gender Shades, we looked at IBM, Microsoft, but we also looked at Face++, a billion-dollar tech startup in China, and we found similar racial bias and gender bias. But overall, when they've done studies on AI systems developed in China, they tend to work better on Chinese faces, right? And those developed in Western nations tend to work better on Western faces as well. One thing I did want to bring up related to China and data collection is this data colonialism that we're starting to see. So you have reports of Chinese companies going to African nations, providing facial recognition or surveillance technologies in exchange for something very precious, the biometric data of the citizens. So now, parallel to what we had with the slave trade, right, where you're extracting bodies, now you're extracting digital bodies in service of a global trade. Because even when you talk about what's going on in London, they're using technology from a company called NEC that's based in Japan. And so you have to really think about the global context for how these technologies spread around the world.
And just to add to that, China has unfettered access to data. It has now been mandated that if you want to access the internet in China, you must submit to facial recognition. So that that is the basis for which they're building this kind of scoring system.
As we wrap up, what about regulation?
These algorithms are impacting all of us in our civil rights, and we need legislation. We need meaningful legislation around algorithms.
And the explanation of algorithms in just 20 seconds, Joy, for us non-scientists.
Yes, so algorithms are essentially processes that are meant to come to give or solve a particular task. So when we talk about AI, we're talking about systems that can perceive the world, that can communicate, and most importantly, make determinations. And these determinations impact our lives.
Well, we want to thank you so much for being with us, Joy Volomwini.
Boom. They found another way to discriminate with people. They not think that they can discriminate against you. It sounds like they're taking more people's rights away. So now it's transforming. It goes to a different level. This beast goes to a whole different level. Prejudice and bias, and they use it in places like China, and China is, man, some Africans people, and I hope some African people from Africa listen to this. It's coming your way. It's coming your way. In the next 5-10 years in Africa, it sounds like they're gonna do the same way they're gonna do some of the different countries where Chinese at are in Africa. Because where China goes, they're bringing that technology with it. And that's why they put Chinese and all these other groups of people coming over there. And make China, probably some of them citizens, third class citizens in their own country on the continent of Africa. That's what it sounds like it is to me. That's what they move it to the base. Wow. And just like they do, you know, and they bring that here to America. And they say they already start doing that in America, but they do it in the sly way. The only way we're getting up out of this is the Most High God. Have to shut all this down. That's why they so determined. You have demonic people that's connected, that's doing this stuff. Stuff is real. But I started out with that for a reason. Because you see how in time, how racism transformed, biases transformed. And the first people they use on the totem pole is black people before they start moving on up the ladder on other people, brown people, red people, people whatever. But they always come down to the bottom of the pole, and it's black people. And they just do all kind of crazy demonic experiment. I believe we are the people in the Bible. They're trying even the nations are trying to use their technology against us other people. We are the people of the Bible. There's no doubt. There ain't no other people that they've done this to. They've done medical experiments on black people. Now they about to do AI technology on black people. How do they do medical experiment? You know, they try to say that you have the highest rate of some virus. You have the highest rate of this, and so we gotta give you this and give you this, and so maybe the delusion is that we won't stop your death when technically it comes into a package, but really it's annihilate and even torment that it would take your mind and then take your life. If you're a black person, this is what they designed to do. This is technology transforming, but with the perception that there's someone that hate and submit. There's got to be a certain group of people, and even in China. Remember when the situation was going down, when Asians here in this country were getting persecuted. Not here. I'm sorry. In China, guess who they wanted to take the blame? They said, no, don't put that on us. You put it on the Africans. Put it on the black people. So subconsciously, they know that these, usually the one, because people always look down to them as criminals and biases. So they security, medically, and they said, go ahead and take this medication, and we want to experiment on you, black women and black children, elderly black people, disabled people. But it's got to be black people first. Why? Because they the next thing. They don't have to use an animal no more. They next thing to an animal. This is how the way the supremacy mindset is. Supremacy has gone to a different level in 21st century. So I hope you guys learned something from this lesson. It's coming. It's coming to a country near you. And it's going to start working its way up. Watch what I'm saying if it haven't started already. So you guys take it easy. Till next time. Stay woke, stay wet, stay prayed up. You guys take care and have a blessed day.